one thing that was to be expected, as we are in the beginning of this series, still, this is only chapter 3. We're still figuring out basics about the Guardian of the Witch world. But I mentioned at the end of last chapter, we haven't even seen the rival character yet. But it looks like this is, introduced in this chapter for chapter 3. But where we left off, you have Manasva, you have Fafnir, you have Nada, that, they've escaped the walled-in city-state, and now they are going out to try and figure out how to cure Manasva of her evil seed and to hopefully turn her back into a normal girl. This, though, has much quicker ideas than I thought. I figured it'd be a while and I have to go around hunt for clues, but Nada, logically, as she says, it's like I actually have some clues. I did some research. I didn't just be a airheaded maid all the time, just doing nothing but the basics of the job. I wanted to cure, so I did my own stuff, for a while now. And she's saying, when she went into, a room in the basement, there's a locked door, that she went behind it after picking the lock. I actually laughed because I know there's been some, there's been some similarities between that and Attack on Titan. And I like this idea. It's like there's a secret room in the basement. Oh, and then instead of we gotta wait forever to figure out what's in there, it's like I just picked the lock. So I don't know if the author it does this on purpose. I think we can assume based on some of this, there's a high possibility that the author has read Attack on Titan and maybe used some of that as the inspiration for the series. Who knows? Either way, I like to believe at least that part is just because it gives me a good chuckle. But now they're discussing how in one of the books that Nada found that there was there was information about a retired witch that is now an advisor in the town village of Noir. And so they're going to go over there and try and figure out what's going on. Because obviously if she's retired, she's either figured out how to stop the seed, cure the seed, or to pretty much slow it down to a very, very minuscule rate. So there's some stuff there of logically, if we go find this woman, we could figure out, what exactly she's done in order to get to this spot where she's obviously retired. They didn't just kill her. I'm hoping there's something that's going to be in there that will help them get along their journey. But as it were, like I said, they're going to need to see the rival character, and this is who we've got now. We got this guy. I don't know if it's supposed to be Jen or Gen. I'm going to go with Jen just because I've played enough Pokemon and say, Generation something, Gen 4. I don't know, either way. And then this girl, Ruli, who they're discussing, you guys got to go after these traitors, these fugitives. Be careful because Fafnir is a highly skilled warrior and he faced down all these elite guys and, he was unscathed. And they even give him a title, too. I thought that was cool as hell because with Manasva, she's a flame witch. She's a witch that her whole thing, obviously, fire. Where they call Fafnir the Ogre Blade, which is just a really neat title. But this guy, Jen, he ends up just being this guy, and he takes his hand out, and he ends up using magic. Well, not him. Let me correct myself on that. He's puts his hand out, makes this the metal magic kind of sword appear in his hand, and then once he touches it the ground, it makes all these other blades all around him, which makes me very curious because we don't know exactly how overall magic in this world works. As we saw with the church dude, that rings and stuff, you could use they have ways to use magic. Maybe looking at this guy's design, those bandages around his arms, he'll have glyphs that were carved into his body, because you look at that part, it looks like he's the one that summoned it, and then afterwards the girl Ruli, she has her hand out, so it looks like she assisted in the spell. So I'm wondering if he has glyphs maybe carved into his body, like I said, under those bandages around his forearms, and maybe she can use magic through him, and she's turned him into just a magic warrior. And I don't know. I like the idea behind it. I think that's going to be really cool. There's still stuff that like I said, we don't know around the construction of this world and how exactly it's really going to play out overall. And I think that is already pretty interesting. Just from speculation, I've mentioned it before, in any of the other early series ones I've done. it's always fun when you start to get like those pieces in, and you're just trying to figure out how's this power work, how are all these things gonna like all be structured, and you only really can go off of like small breadcrumbs the authors laid out, and then experience in other series. But we'll see. Either way, this guy, he seems pretty confident in his ability. He seems pretty powerful. Him and this girl Ruli have some pretty seem to be some pretty getting along, some nice synergy. Though she's always like seems to be upset at him because he's very rude to other people. But I'm guessing maybe like they're kind of like maybe them being a little bit closer is going to be some of the reasons of like why they can have like a higher end level of power, and will build up something for Fafnir. Because one thing for Fafnir that needs to be noted is Fafnir is the name of a dragon. I think I don't think is it Norse? It's a mythology. You can look it up. Just look up Fafnir dragon, and then you'll find out. I think it might be Norse mythology. Either way, and being a dragon, I mean, I think his element was fire, and you have the flame witch as his, the female lead. So if he ends up being a fire swordsman, that would make sense to like the base lore and where it all kind of relates to. And then you get back to it, and you get Fafnir, Manaspa, and Nada, and they were like run into an evil that was like hiding as like it was just kind of hiding as just a monster like on the side of the pathway. It comes up, and Fafnir just takes it out really quick, very swiftly. You get like this part where Manaspa is like talking about how she's like seen evils before, but it was always from a distance, and she thought they were a lot more intimidating and scary up close. Which it's pretty understandable when you're like a ranged fighter and you're now facing some of this like right up close and personal. But obviously Fafnir has been prepared for fighting these his whole life, and he's just been itching to start cutting them down. But as we see now, they got to this village noir, and they're like, okay, we're gonna pass through they're getting to the village noir. They're gonna pass through 7 small villages until they get there. And then they're going to be at the place that they need to find out more information. So I'm guessing all these smaller villages are going to be exposition stuff like power explanations, build up, and then when they finally get there, maybe like I said that there's magic rings or stuff. Maybe Fafnir will get one along the way to be able to do specific things with the sword, or maybe he can get a sword enchanted. Who knows? There's some stuff that obviously we need to understand going into the world, that obviously the author needs to get stuff established for us, the readers, to try and get people interested in the series, and get them enough that it can be a successful. And I think it's been doing good so far. I like it. But when they're talking about like putting on disguise costumes, I think it was funny that Manasva thought of like bunny girls and like nurse outfits. So I'm wondering what she's been doing in her spare time, because she's not. This isn't like a character who could have seen something on TV, or just like knowing something for off the internet or whatnot. She's like been locked in this tower for the most part, and she's read these books. So she like up there reading some lewd stuff. I don't know. Either way, now they're like, okay, we're gonna go inside of this village. We're gonna get our stuff. We're gonna get food and supplies and keep moving. And at the end, you have the guy Jen and Ruli, and they're like saying how. We're going to be closer to the village now, and then we're going to start going on this witch hunt. I did like his weird little, you got like this weird little, I don't know what to call it, I guess a mount, but it looks just like a little mass of metal, and it's like moving along the ground by like stabbing into it. It just looks like a centipede moving. I don't know, it just looks really neat. I like that idea. I was thinking maybe like they'd be on like a horseback or carriage, or maybe something like more refined, but it's just like, oh no, they're pretty much like riding what looks like a little centipede kind of creature stabbing in the ground. Either way, I'm interested to see like some of the stuff coming up. I do want to see like the interactions between Jen and Fafnir, because I didn't think about it in too heavily when it came to like who the rival would be. I think it would be like, they go to some village and there's some other powerful like warrior that's gonna be, I've been training for do my own things, I want to join the military or be a guardian or something. But I didn't think the fact that there's already guardians with other witches, so obviously they all have to be strong enough to be placed with them, because it's the strongest person in their whole area that ends up being put in front of the witch for both. We know for the secret reason is when it gets to the point they're gonna have to put them down. Either way, good series so far. I like it. I think it's very enjoyable. I like the main character. I think that both him and Manasva are very cool. I think they're pretty well built as 3 chapters in, pretty fun. I did like that, but not. I like the whole like, oh, there was a secret room in the basement, so I picked the lock. I'm just like, oh god, I'm really hoping that was an Attack on Titan reference, just because I love the idea of this. Like, oh yeah, it's so secret. It's like you didn't need the key, just pick the lock, pick the lock. Anyway, either way, comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about this chapter and the series so far. We're only 3 chapters in. I really am looking forward to the next few ones because I want to see like a fight between Jen and Fafnir, because we've only really seen like the first chapter, you know, he just completely mauled those like elite guard kind of guys, those little assassin dudes. Second one is more about them escaping, and this one is more about the build up. But like we haven't even seen like any you know, full displays of Fafnir's abilities yet. You know, we haven't seen like him in a real fight. But other than that, like I said, comment below. That's the video. Press the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening.